Hello and welcome to the AdTech Heroes podcast. In today's episode, we are going to talk about the role of the CMO, and I'm delighted to be joined by Rami Zahran. Rami is the Chief Marketing and Communications Officer of Saudi German Health and has over a decade of experience in marketing, communications, and branding. Hi, Rami. How's it going?
Hey, Dal, all good, all good. How are you?
Very well, thank you. Very well. So we studied, it seems like a lifetime ago in London. It'd be
It
great
does feel like a
to,
long time ago.
I'm not going to tell the audience how long ago because then we'll give away our age. But let's just say it was a long time ago.
It was a long time ago.
It'd be great to understand, especially for our audience, how your career has developed from our masters many years ago to what it is today.
Yeah, so I actually started off my career in advertising. I was always passionate about being in advertising. I knew from high school, when I was in high school, that I wanted to be in advertising. So I was, 15, 16, and I knew I wanted to be in advertising. I started off my career there having studied advertising. I did a double major, advertising and marketing, but I always wanted to be in advertising. And I studied in Dubai. I studied in a university here that was right next to one of the top advertising agencies in the world, Leo Burnett. And it was just a dream of mine. I was in the university looking at Leo Burnett, and I wanted to be in Leo Burnett. It was my objective. It was my goal. I was lucky enough to be able to intern there. And then when I interned there, I did 3 months in unpaid internship. But sometimes these things pay off. So for 3 months, I was actually continuing my studies while doing the internship, unpaid. I did what I could, and then eventually I got hired by them, and it was just a dream come true. 4 years after that, I decided I was done with marketing and advertising. I don't know what got into me, and that's when I came to do the masters where we met. So I came to the UK to do a master's, and I wanted to go into management consulting. I wanted to go into finance. There was so many fields that I just wanted to just get out of marketing and advertising. I think I did that for 9 months after. So I graduated or got my master's, and then I lasted, I think, 9 months in a financial services consulting firm, and I just missed marketing. I missed what it meant to be in a field with people who understood you, your mindset, the creative approach that you take to decision making and problem solving. I had really missed it. And in other industries, there's just it's a much more of a straight line, very very straight line, and there wasn't so much room for creativity and the type of people that you had around you in marketing, advertising were just very very similar to me as a person. So I just had to get back in, and then I started working again in marketing. I got a call from a company in Abu Dhabi. I worked for them for a couple of years, and now I've been actually in healthcare marketing for a number of years. And most recently, my current role is as a CMO for a large healthcare group.
I'm just touching on your point about the internship, and I did the exact same. Free work for a few months, and it just sets you up, doesn't it, to get that experience under your belt. And after having spoken to my first employer, which was Yahoo, I asked my manager at the time, did it make a difference doing this bit of free work and internships and working even in other sectors? So my background was economics and finance, and I wanted to go down the investment banking route, which is worlds apart now to what I'm doing in my day to day now. But I think just touching on that point, internships are so important, aren't they, into getting that kind of experience as well as that foot into the door.
It's exactly it. It's a foot into the door. And some people will, for some reason, depends on your current situation. You may not be able to afford 3 months unpaid because you absolutely need to start working. But for some others, they think, well, I'm not going to do anything if nobody's going to pay me for it. And that's a big mistake. That's a big career mistake where you could be getting a foot into, in my case, a company that I absolutely want to work for. Big multinational advertising agency that some people will give up just because they're not willing to at least in the beginning pay them, but eventually it could reap great benefits, it's a long-term investment.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. And fast forward to now then, and your role as a CMO, how important do you feel it is within your organization, and how have you kind of put your stamp on it? How have you shaped it into your own?
So the role of a CMO, how I've shifted into my own. So um, one of the things that I absolutely love to do is to take marketing as marketing, or communications as communications, and not as, so I'm in healthcare, but not as healthcare communications and healthcare marketing. I like to take it in the general sense, and I truly believe in this idea that you can have great ideas from anywhere. You know, I think a lot of people do their industry or their organization or themselves a huge disservice when they're only hiring and only thinking within their own industry. So what I tend to do though is to take ideas, to hire people from other industries, take ideas from other industries, and really learn and adapt them to our industry. And that's how I've really made it my own. I've always wanted to stand out in what we do. It's being just standard like everybody else, for me is never been something that I've ever wanted to do. I just don't think you should be doing that, particularly if you want to just get ahead in life. You need to have something that puts you apart. And if you're just doing what everybody else is doing, if you're just repeating and you're hiring the same people from the same industry, the kind of recycling people and ideas and thoughts, you're going to get stuck and you're going to be just the same as everybody else. We've seen this, for example, in the FMCG industry. I could take an ad from, and I'm just talking ads from the whole marketing sort of portfolio, marketing or communications portfolio. I'll take, now digital advertising, and you look at the FMCG advertising, and it's just the same. You remove the brand, you put any other brand, and it's exactly the same formula. And it's been the same formula for many years, and it's because it's the same people in the same industry doing the same thing. So the way I've made it my own is to be able to try and really stand out by applying techniques and thoughts and ideas from other industries and bringing the best of all worlds into my world.
And how difficult has that been? And the reason I ask is because, you know, I don't know, working in healthcare must be very different to FMCG or, sports, retail, fashion, luxury, which you would, you're probably trying to attract people from those industries. How difficult has that been to bring them into healthcare?
Yeah, so it is difficult because there are people who, again, they will view their industry as where they're comfortable in, and plus they'll view it as the place that they just want to be in, and that's the reason they're in that industry. But when they meet someone who's just very passionate about the marketing industry and not the industry where the marketing team operates in, they quickly understand and realize that no, I want to work for an organization, a person, a department that appreciates marketing and communications basic principles and want to utilize them to their maximum, want to really get the most out of the position that we're in, or the department that we are, which is the very important department to the organization and also to consumers. We owe a lot to consumers, as we have a huge responsibility. Everything that they interact with has come from us as except the actual maybe service or product, but we also have input in that. It has come through us. So we have a huge responsibility to give them our brand in the best possible expression of it. So when you kind of sell that idea, people get attracted to it, and that's it is difficult, but it is possible. But it's also difficult to implement those ideas because you said you have people from the luxury industry who, or you have ideas from the luxury. How easy is it to apply to healthcare? It's not. It's not easy, but you can take the principles of it or the concepts and ideas of it. So, for example, I've been paying attention a lot to the hospitality industry and seeing how we can apply communications and marketing and even solutions and service offerings that are similar to the hospitality industry. Because in healthcare, people do want to be treated a specific way, and that is very similar to the way people want to be treated in hotels, for example. So there is ways to apply it. The luxury industry as well. There's definitely different service offerings that we offer within healthcare, and some of them do have a bit of a premium aspect to them. and you can learn again from the luxury industry how they market. There's so many different learnings that you can have when you look outside of your own boundaries.
Definitely. And in your years of experience, how have you seen that marketing has evolved or changed, from your agency days to what it is now?
I mean, the obvious one would be to say the introduction of digital, right? That's absolutely the biggest difference. In my days in Leo Burnett, we were just starting to touch upon digital. Even agencies were very, very sort of segmented in terms of their ATL, BTL offering. Maybe they had an arm that did digital, but they weren't doing it all together. And when I talk digital, they were doing websites. They weren't, and some paid media, but even the paid media was being done by their media buying agency. And I remember we were still having people pitch to us the idea of SEM and advertising through Google, and that was just still not not really as widespread as it is today. Today, majority of your budget now is being spent on digital, at least for us. And I would assume this is the case for a lot of organizations. They're spending the majority of their budget on digital. This was unthinkable a couple of years ago. You could just imagine a couple of years ago, when the world of when we were still not, we didn't have the Netflix and the other streaming services as easily available. YouTube didn't really exist. It was unimaginable that digital would overtake spend on outdoor and TV advertising. I'm sure you remember that time where it was, you would kind of even look forward to TV ads to see what this brand has come up with recently. Oh, this brand has a new ad. I remember as a kid, we would go to, I don't know if this was the case with you. I grew up in Spain. So TV ads were very comical. TV ads were Spain is, a lovely country, and people are just, I'm sure you've interacted with a lot of Spanish people, just lovely people who are just very open, very, very funny, very casual. And their ads were just hilarious. And we would take lines from their ads, their TV ads, lines, and repeat it to each other in school when we'd see our friends. They've become part of our culture. Nowadays, that's just gone. It's just gone. There's so much ads. There's so much digital ads out there that, and it's, you may have seen it, you may have not have seen it because you have so many screens available to you that But before we'd all have that 1 hour that we were all watching a specific show. Every household was watching that specific show with that specific football match, and in between, you were watching those ads. So that doesn't happen today, right? That those TV ads are, people are spending on digital. So the world has evolved to digital. That's one part of it. The other part that's evolved, and that's because of digital as well, is that we've become a lot more, and because of digital and because of technology that's been introduced, a lot more data driven. And this is a good thing and a bad thing. And I don't know if you'll agree here, Dal, but it's a good thing because we're able to track a lot of KPIs, and in particular, a very important KPI in order to secure budget and in order to justify the work that we do, which is a return on marketing investment, which is the ability to show that for every dollar we've spent, we've generated this many dollars. Fantastic that we have this today, right? But the problem with it is that that's become the expectation on everything we do. So you put out the billboard, and now your CFO, your CEO will come back to you and say, how much money did you generate from that billboard? Those questions weren't being asked a couple of years ago. We understood the value of awareness. We understood the value of building brand equity and certain brand perceptions through your TV and outdoor ads. Nowadays, it's, again, how much money did you generate from it? So it's evolved in that way, and that we've become a lot more numbers oriented as a marketing department. The other thing is that as a marketing department, now you're also expected a lot more to be involved in the experience and the product offering. So you have to, it is, you should absolutely be involved in things like pricing, the way you package it. That's marketing 101. That's, they spoke about 4 Ps, now 7 Ps, whatever it is, that's marketing 101. But in today's world, there are a lot of marketing people out there who don't even get involved in price or packaging, and they focus on the promotion P, which is just how do we advertise. That's not marketing. Marketing is a lot more. So if you're not doing that, you should be doing all these other things. Plus now the evolution has been to focus on experience. How can you as a marketer offer a better experience to customers, right? So it's not just a matter of, okay, IT developed an app or IT is developing this online platform. I'll help them with the UX a little bit. No, I need to take charge. I need to take ownership. I know customers better than anybody else in the organization because that's marketing's role, to know them and understand them and be able to provide solutions to them that cater to their needs. And we all know, as much as we love our IT teams, they build things in a very technical way, whereas marketers build things in a very consumer-friendly way. So when we take charge, when we make sure we're building them hand in hand, I'm not saying that it should be purely a marketing-led initiative, but build them hand in hand with your IT counterparts. You can build solutions that are a lot more customer-friendly, and this is where, again, this is another area that marketing has evolved to. So yeah, the introduction of digital, the introduction of metrics that we've never had before, and the need to be more involved in customer experience, in addition to pricing, packaging, and all the other elements that one needs to be involved to deliver that product or service.
That's really interesting. So would you say then, in your years as a CMO, you've seen your targets change from probably being more around creativity, impact, etc., to now literally ROI? We're going to run this budget and we need this return. Is that what you're seeing now as a CMO?
You're hitting me. You're hitting me where it hurts. I got into advertising because I was saying in the beginning, I got into advertising because since I was 15, I wanted to get into advertising because I love this idea of this creative field. I'm not a creative in the meaning that I'm not somebody who's an artist or a writer, but I am creative in that I like from an ideas perspective, ideation and concepts and strategy and problem solving. I'm creative that way. And so that's a little bit of that spirit that existed in marketing has been taken away when we become so numbers oriented. We've become a lot more corporate, if you will, in that aspect. Marketers, we're always seen as the more casual, the more these big ideas, big picture type of people. That yes, a lot of times we're looked at by the numbers people, the finance people, as here go the crazy marketing guys, right, trying to spend our money. But brand building is what allowed businesses to thrive. You think about the Apples of this world, the Coca-Colas, the big brands. They exist today in their best form because of the strong brand equity they have and that value that they have in consumers' mind, the way they position themselves. And they did that through brand building activities, not through revenue generating, bottom line, conversion, lead generation activities. So yes, you need that. You need the ROI. You need to show your ROI, as I call it, ROMI, return on marketing investment. You need to show that. You need to prove your work, but also you need to be left to be able to build a brand, because that's what's going to serve your organization in the long term.
So it's about finding that sweet spot. Do you think you obviously need that?
Today's world, absolutely, absolutely. You have to find that sweet spot. We have to accept the fact that people are going to demand numbers. This is going to remain there for the long term or forever, and we need to accept that. So we need to provide them. We can't just say, "I spent $1 million on a TV ad, and that's all I can show for it is some GRPs at the end of the day." No, you need to also show the value of it in certain ways. But at the same time, that you should stop all those activities and focus only on digital, because that's all that generates revenue. You still need to build a brand. And I think a lot of companies who don't build a brand will reap the benefits of those, conversion-led tactics and make some revenue in the beginning. But once their brand is under a little bit of crisis, once their brand is maybe has more competitors, and they haven't built themselves in a way that they've solidified their position through good branding executions, I think they'll eventually then start to struggle.
And and then talking about the healthcare sector and SGH in particular, how would you measure your success in marketing? Is it like we just mentioned, does it need to convert to, in healthcare? I know you've got a few hospitals. Does it convert to appointments? What does that marketing budget need to do for you?
So look, I have a lot of KPIs. I have a lot, and I've made sure that our KPIs are not just built on sort of the I build my KPIs based on the conversion and retention funnel, right? There used to be conversion, now we have conversion and retention. And depending on where people are in our patient journey, we create tactics based on that. So let's say if we need to create awareness, our KPIs are awareness KPIs, they're not conversion KPIs. So if we're creating a campaign for our cardiology department, it's more about the services that we offer, who are the doctors that we have, the procedures that we could do. We're not expecting immediate leads to be generated. But when we are specifically doing lead generation campaigns, that's when the KPIs of conversions comes into play. And we actually are able to track those conversions to actual appointments. And then from those into actual appointments, we can track actual revenue generated from those conversions. So that's those KPIs I do have, and I do present those, and they matter. So revenue and then volumes, patient volumes, they matter. But I have a number of different KPIs, whether it's brand equity, brand awareness, our digital engagement rates, our or social media engagement rates, our views. Our event attendance is very important to me, and how much people have actually submitted forms. We're also investing heavily in a CRM, so the CRM usage and how many click-through rates we get to things like emails, SMSs. There's a lot of KPIs that I make sure to track, starting from the top of the funnel, as I said, awareness, metrics like top of mind awareness, spontaneous awareness. We look at our brand equity. We even look at our ranking in terms of our hospital ranking, medical, in the mind of our potential and existing customers in terms of how they rank us against other competitors. We look at all these things, and then mid-funnel interest consideration, we start looking at our engagement rates, how many people are visiting our websites, where they're dropping off, etc. And then conversion, we start looking at things like revenue, leads generated, etc. And then when it comes to retention, we look at how many people have downloaded our app, how many people are engaging with it. We're introducing different tools. I'm not going to get into the details yet because we're still working on them, but those will be there to be able to retain people, and the retention rate there will be important, and the response rate as well. So there's a lot of different KPIs, and it depends on where the customer is in their journey with us.
And then everything that brings this all together is the team that works for you, right? And how strong they are and everything. And you touched on it. You like to have a highly diverse team, which have different disciplines, which is great to see. But as we know, in the last kind of year and a half, 2 years, we've all been working pretty much remotely or virtually, and jumping on Google Hangouts or Zoom or Teams, whatever it might be. How have you found that, and how have you found working with your team in the last kind of year and a half, 2 years?
So in the beginning, it was challenging, but then we quickly realized there are so many benefits to actually working remotely. I work from an office now, but my team is abroad. I work and live in the UAE, and most of my work is actually in Saudi. But during this last year and a half, we produced a TVC. We created a whole rebranding strategy. We then implemented this strategy, a whole new comms strategy that required a heavy amount of work to be done in terms of launching a campaign, like as I said, producing a TV campaign, a whole 360 campaign, redoing our signages, interior, exterior across. We have overall in our group, we have 11 operational hospitals with a number being constructed right now, a bunch of clinics, pharmacies, healthcare, an academy. So we have so many different facilities. All of that required a whole rebrand. And we're training people on this whole new approach. We introduced this idea of caring like family. That was part of the rebranding, which is to take healthcare into more of an empathetic, service-oriented approach rather than a very technical, medical approach. And that was because our research showed that that's what people were demanding. So we did that all remotely. A year and a half, we managed to launch a brand working remotely. I anyways look after a diverse market in very dispersed geographic locations, from Egypt to Saudi in many different locations. So I anyways have to do it at some point remotely. But I was saving so much time on travel and the time that would waste, and the days that I would be there. And let's say I'm in one city, Jeddah, and I'm attending to them for 3 days, and I couldn't be attending to Riyadh or Dammam or somewhere else. Being in a central location, actually far away from all of them, I was able to attend to all of them at the same time and still be super highly efficient, because I don't know if you realize this, Dal, but we ended up working a lot more when we were working remotely than we were in offices, just because there was no clear-cut start or end time. You were just doing every single hour of the day almost. So yeah, no, we managed remotely perfectly well, and we managed to do some really good work remotely. Even when the whole pandemic hit and there were lockdowns, and we were actually strictly working from home for a while. We didn't work from home for too long, but we did some amazing work because we had to recover as a business, right? And we were doing some amazing work remotely. It's all very doable. Technology has allowed us to communicate in a very effective way remotely. And again, I have a great team. I have to say, I have a great team dispersed across Saudi Arabia, and in Egypt. So I get to work very closely with them, and they were just super responsive, doing whatever it took to take on any work remotely. So yeah.
And is it something that you think is here to stay now? And hopefully in the not too distant future,
I think.
Yeah, it's not going to be a pandemic will be a thing of the past. Lockdown, COVID, is this something to stay now? The remote working and working from home.
Look, I think COVID taught us a lot of things, personal and work-wise. It taught us that you can do so many things that we thought were a big no-no, in terms of, no, you can't hold a conference, a virtual conference. How could you do that? It has to be in person. And now almost all conferences are virtual. Oh, how could you work from home? You're going to be so distracted and not be able to do your work. And people were doing their best work while working from home. It taught us so many different things, as I said, work-wise. It taught us how to, of services and tools and ideas that we needed to present that we thought were unimportant at the time. But, there's a lot of restaurants or retailers who just weren't available digitally. So they paid the price, and now they realize how important having a digital presence is. I myself do so much more online than I ever used to do. And that was all thanks to COVID. And the world is actually easier now to deal with. So I think, yes, there are advantages. I missed the office, and I think I went back like probably one of the earliest people. I was back in office in April, April 2020. I was going back to the office. There was nobody, but I was going back. We were not supposed to be in the office because, there was sort of limitations, but I managed to have an exception, and I just missed the office. I like being in the office. I like getting up, getting ready for work, and being in a physical place where I could interact with people when everybody else started coming back. So I think, but not everybody does their best in that environment. And even me, sometimes I do better at home and sometimes I do better at the office. So the solution is a hybrid solution, whereby we could get people in the office a certain amount of time and then people out of the office. There's also cost savings to having people work from home, right? So that's a huge advantage. You could technically close offices and have people work from home and save so much money on that. You also personally, you save money on commute, you save time on commute. So there's so many advantages to still working from home that a hybrid would probably be sort of the best of both worlds.
Perfect. Kind of taking this back to you and being a CMO, we'll have an audience, and we'll have people listening to this podcast episode who want to be eventually a CMO, later down the line in their careers. So, question really for you is, what traits are important for to being a CMO?
Well, for those aspiring to be a CMO and want to be a CMO, don't do it. My advice is just don't do it. No, I'm just.
Which is
I'm kidding.
it's pretty much like we said. It's like a CFO now, right? A CMO and a CFO have
It
kind of
is. It
merged.
is. It is. It is. You just have to be so numbers oriented and always have people question why you've done this or that, and it does come with a lot of pressure. I tell you, it does come with a lot of pressure and a lot of expectations and a lot of having to prove why you've done certain things. And as well, when in marketing, your work is exposed. You're in other fields, your work is your work and it's contained. But in marketing, your work is out there every single day of your work day. It's out on a social media post, it's out on a billboard, it's out on TV. Your work is constantly out there. So it opens you up to a lot of feedback, criticism, potentially, and need for justification as to why you've done it this way or that way. So what traits are important as a CMO? Thick skin, I'll tell you that. You have to have thick skin. So be prepared to face a lot. I mean, in most C-suite roles as well, you have to have thick skin. But in marketing, just because you have to always come up with ideas, justify them, and later on, there's a lot of subjective work that you end up doing, and people will criticize it or will have an opinion about it, and you just have to have not just thick skin, but a lot of conviction. Launching a new brand for me, for example, I had to face a lot of questions as to why you've done it this way or that way, or look at this company or look at that company. A lot of people they want to have a say, and so you have to have conviction to do certain things and know that, that, or at least you yourself be 100% convinced of what you're doing and what you're presenting and what you're going to put out there. So you have to have thick skin, you have to have conviction, but also you have to have a great team and a great trust in your team. So it's very important that you hire the right people that can support your objectives and your vision, and they could work towards it. And at the same time, marketing has a fun element. So you want people around you that you can enjoy working with, have fun with something, have fun with ideas, try things out. You need to have a little bit of risk-taking element, because you're just gonna be very standard if you play all very safe, and that's not the point of marketing. The point of marketing is to be creative. So you need to have a risk-taking element. You have to be a little bit creative. You have to have a creative side when you're in marketing. Yes, numbers are important, but you also have to have creative. You have to come up with creative solutions. So there's a lot of traits that I think are the traits of a CMO, or at least what I would think would, if I were to look at what a great CMO is, just taking my, because I'm not gonna decide if I'm a great CMO or not, but looking at what a great CMO is, I think the traits of a great CMO are somebody who's a risk taker, willing to take a risk, to try things out, to bring in new products, solutions, ideas that make you go, wow, this company is leading the way in certain areas. You need to have somebody who has a very strong conviction. You have to have thick skin, and you have to have a love for people. You really have to have a love for people and for your team, because it's a people industry. You have to have so many conversations that lead to creativity, lead to solutions, lead to new ideas, and you have to have the right people around you to have those kind of great ideas. So yeah, this is what I would say are the traits of what I believe would make a CMO, or even a CMO who's good at what they do.
Okay, great.
And being numbers oriented is good, as we said. Yeah.
So the CMO needs to pretty much be good at everything, right? In conclusion, yeah.
Nowadays, yeah, you have to be good at everything. I mean, you have to sort of fulfill. As I said, you're kind of like in the spotlight, so you're gonna get questions from HR. You're gonna get questions from finance. You're gonna get questions from IT. All of these people are gonna expect, and you have to be able to address them in the way that they understand, their language. And by the way, that's what marketing is, right? Is adapting communication to the person you're communicating with, not communicating in a way that you would communicate, that only you would empathize or understand. It has to be the person you're communicating with. And that's what, again, working internally, you have to be very good at communicating. with people in a way that they'll understand.
Brilliant. So I've got one final question for you. If you had a superpower in marketing, what would it be?
If I had a superpower in marketing, I think I'll take that back to be able to constantly have a anytime somebody said the word ROMI, or return on investment, or return on marketing investing, that something would just flash in my hand showing the number. I think that would be my superpower in marketing. So somebody says, okay, we saw that you spent X amount of money on, that TV campaign. What were the results? And then just somehow that just flashes on my hand, and I just go like this, and just have everyone sort of stop asking that question for a while. That'd be great.
I think that would be brilliant answer.
Yeah, I think I'd prefer that to teleporting, which would be my non-specific, industry-specific superpower that I'd want. Actually, I think I'd want to prove return on them. I think actually in life that would be a fantastic superpower to prove why you did something was the right reason you did it.
Brilliant.
Instantly.
Out of interest, where would you teleport to?
I think right now I'd teleport back to Barcelona. You know this. I'm a big Barca fan. Not a good time to be.
Probably not the best time to be teleporting there.
No, absolutely not. But I do love that city. I do love Barcelona. It's a great city. I'm a big Barca fan. I lived in Spain. I didn't live in Barcelona, but I would love. I just was in Spain in August. Took my family, my daughter there. They're just lovely people. Great place to be. Great weather. I would teleport to Barcelona or London. I do. I have a soft spot for London since I studied there. It's a great place. This time of year, it's fantastic. It gets cold, but that sort of Christmas spirit that you find in London, in shops, in the streets, Oxford Street. It's quite festive. It's nice. Yeah, I think it should. I don't know. Did it start? Are you getting the decorations?
Yeah, it's starting to pick up now. I think the Christmas spirit is now in swing. It's November now, so everyone's getting ready for Christmas. Let's just hope we've got enough turkeys and there's enough food because of COVID and Brexit and everything else in between. There's a lot of people scared that we won't have the supplies and everything like that. But yeah, that's a different topic for a different day.
Oh yeah. Great.
Brilliant. No, thank you for your time. That's all we've got time in today's podcast episode. So thanks, Rami, for your time, and we'll speak soon.
Oh, thanks, Dal. This was a great chat. Thanks so much for the opportunity, and I hope this was useful to anybody out there listening to it.